I think the one thing that worries me is it's the time to get the planning and also the time to get the conditions all discharged, so that you can actually start works. And ideally it's at that point that you want to trigger the option.
Tatiana, hello and welcome to Property Elevator.
Hi Lizzie, I'm so happy to be here. Yes,
I'm really
thank
happy
you for
to have
inviting
you.
me.
Tell us firstly where you've come from today.
I came from Bromley,
Yep.
so Kent.
Okay.
Not too far.
Yeah, not too far. And is the deal also in Kent that you've brought today?
It's actually in Surrey, so it's in Elmbridge. Not too far, but I prefer to venture a little bit out from Bromley, because Bromley is one of the worst councils. Not sure if you know about this.
Okay, bit difficult.
So, yeah, a bit long, I'd say.
Tell us then a little bit about the deal that you've brought.
Yeah, so it's a nice mixed deal. So there is a conversion part and a new build part.
Nice.
Existing property is a five-bed house, which is going to be converted into 4 flats.
Okay.
And then on the side, we're going to build a pair of semi-detached houses.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
We're going to send you in now and we'll have a little chat when you get out.
Fingers crossed, yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, thank you very much for coming in to see us today. Let's hear about this deal.
So this particular project is in Elmbridge, actually just on the border between Elmbridge and Weybridge. It's a nice big plot currently occupied by a 5-bedroom house. Overall, Ashley Road is a great location. It has access to good schools. It's a short walking distance to the train station with regular services to London every 30 minutes. And sort of most houses on Ashley Road are selling sort of above $1 million, sometimes above $2 million, which again is a good indication that it is in fact a desirable location. So the plan for this house to be converted into 4 flats, and there is a land to the side which you don't see on this picture, but you can see it on slide 3 on your packs, where basically the land to the side is where we are planning to construct a pair of semi-detached houses.
So let's get this clear. So it's an option?
It's an option, yes.
And how much have you got it for on the option?
The price is $1,450,000.
I would just like to ask you a question about what you're planning to do, because you're doing a flat conversion, and looking at the locality, it seems full of pretty substantial detached houses. Have you looked at the possibility of doing maybe 2 or 3 detached houses on that plot, in keeping with the other things in the vicinity, and getting potentially a higher GDV, because brand new luxury detached houses normally command a bit more of a premium?
Yes, no, absolutely. So there are several schemes which we can still look at. So in fact, we are currently looking at 8-unit scheme, although more flatted development. The key reason for this is we want to make sure that we don't destroy the existing use value, which is the first thing we usually try to do. So the current plans, they really respect the current layout of the house. They don't move the staircase, they don't move any structural walls. The utilities is pretty much where they are, which just obviously helps to reduce the build costs. And then we use the land for the site to the new build elements, which are houses. We can try a complete demolition and new build or some sort of extension, but we just haven't tested this out yet. Just opposite the site, there are quite small 2-bedroom houses. If you wanted to see how they look, you can look at slide 2, and you will be able to see the road leading to the site, showing you exactly.
And how much do they sell for, the 2-bedroom
So these 2-bedroom houses are 70 square meter, and one is currently on the market at 565. And I've been told by the agent that it's under offer in excess of that. It received a lot of attraction.
Tatiana, lovely to meet you. I'm keen to understand the planning in a bit more detail. You said you can bring the value through the planning. I'm just going to challenge you slightly on that, in that you've had a failed planning application on this. Is that right? Was that your application that failed?
It was my application.
Okay, and there was 3 previous applications, I think you said between 2000 and...
Yes, yeah, there were 3 failed planning applications before 2010.
Yeah.
All were for one house, detached house, on the land to the side. Like that's what it was for. And all of them were refused because of the access road. You know, this road that you see on slide 2, it wasn't there at the time of the application. It was literally like a gravel tiny road. And there where these houses, 16 houses were developed, it used to be some sort of factory or something. And it since then has been developed into 16 homes. And as part of this development, they created this private road. So the access point is pretty much irrelevant at that point. also another reason why we didn't go with like a massively aggressive scheme, we just firstly wanted to establish the principle of development and some massing that would be already on the site. And when we went into planning, we thought we've created pretty much a small scheme compared to what potentially could be considered. And the planners, the first question they said, why do you not put more flats to the site? Why do you not make it bigger and put more flats? Because they are looking for affordable housing contribution, as far as we understood.
Right.
We then, because Elmbridge is one of those funny councils where 9 unit doesn't apply, they ask for affordable housing from unit 1 as soon as you can see the profit above 20% GDV. So we've submitted the viability.
You know the way around that one, don't you?
Well, I don't know whether I know.
Don't show profit of 20%.
Yes, yes. So we've tried to do that as much as possible. They've hired their consultants who came up originally saying, no, you can't. You have more than 20% profit on GDV. So they wanted 80,000 contribution. Frankly, I don't see how I can take 80,000 pounds with the price I secured. And my planning consultant was saying, let's just go on appeal, because actually we have done a response to their report, sent it again, showing the higher build costs, but some justification for low GDV around uncertainty, the current environment, etc. And they actually came back saying, yes, potentially it cannot be secured, but they wanted another independent valuation of the quantity survey report we provided. And at that point, the planning consultant told me, look, it's already an independent report and they want another set of fees.
Okay.
So we just felt it was...
Are you struggling to find your next commercial to residential conversion project? Well, over the next 2 years, virtually every UK bank branch will close. Banks are fabulous buildings in prime locations, and thanks to permitted development rights, they're really easy to convert to alternative uses under a light touch planning regime. My team have put together a list of over 500 UK bank branches which are poised for imminent closure. And for a limited period only, you can download this list absolutely free. Your next commercial property project is on this list, so download it now and enjoy the rest of the video.
Nicholas, I think you're going to get to the bottom of this, aren't you? Because it doesn't sound quite right to me.
Yeah, I think it's really strange to have a planning application refused on the affordable housing. They might just go against you and set it at 80,000 and pass it.
No, if you refuse 80,000, so that's what we've done. We said we're not going to pay 80,000,
right,
and we're not going to sign the legal agreement. And then, but in their policy, they actually have to look at planning separate to the affordable housing.
Yeah.
So we were trying to engage them, say, well, you still have to give us comments on the scheme. And the planning case officer just came back saying, can you not do flats so that you can afford the housing? And we said, no, we are going to go for appeal.
I mean, it
sounds
sounds to me that the planning authority are now property developers and are advising the rest of us what to do. I mean, it's amazing. Helen?
The fun and games of planning. Yeah, I've got one of those myself at the moment. Have you finished your?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to understand that detail. I think it's an important detail.
It's unusual.
Because we're investing on the basis you're going to get this through on appeal.
It's an option agreement, so we exercise the option on granting of the planning and all these things.
Yeah, of course, we wouldn't exercise if it's not granted, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So in slide 7, you can see all the considerations they have raised. And I guess the positive thing about this planning application that we had is that principle of development is now...
But you failed. That's the truth. You failed.
Yes, absolutely.
You failed.
We failed.
So at the end of the day, it's an appeal situation. Helen, what are your thoughts? Do you like appeals?
Oh, good God, no. Yeah, I've got something stuck in planning myself at the moment, so my heart is with you. I feel in your pain. Unsurprisingly, I have questions around the numbers. I really did like your spreadsheet.
Oh, thank you.
Certainly ticked my boxes on that front. Very impressive, as I would expect of you with your background, so well done on that. It was specifically around the finance costs. Mm-hmm. So you've got 100k in there, and you've got a time frame of 9 months. Mm-hmm. Talk me through that, because just intuitively it feels optimistic and low.
In addition to the 12 months option term, we have agreed 4 months between exchange and completion for mobilization.
Right.
So mobilization kind of is excluded from these numbers. And then in terms of the rest, you have 9 months for conversion element and then 12 months for the new build element.
Okay.
So there is actually a manual adjustment in this formula, because usually this spreadsheet works really well when it's either conversion or a new build. So I had to do a manual adjustment to add an extra 3 months for the new build element in there. So it does assume 9 months for conversion, 12 months for new build, and then 3 months for the sale.
So the finance would be drawn down what, as development finance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But that's going to take 12 months. So why is there just 9 months allowed?
So actually, the way that I have signed the option agreements is that there are 2 option agreements, one for the land and one for the main house. And I intend to keep it this way. It has stamp duty benefits as well to sell it, to buy it this way.
Okay.
So I spoke to my development finance provider, and they would be happy to basically, once it's completed, the main house, you can then refinance on a buy-to-let or on an exit
I would
bridge
be very
separately.
careful on the stamp duty thing, because if it's a linked transaction in any shape or form, no solicitor will allow that to happen.
Oh, no, sorry. It's when I'm saying stamp duty benefits, I'm allowing for the linked transaction to be treated as a linked transaction.
Okay.
So the only bit you're saving is the 3% of the, so on the land, you're not paying an extra 3% of residential surcharge.
All right.
So you need 660 grand to make it work, and you can contribute about 100. Is that right?
Yeah, I tend to propose up to 20%, which I think is sufficient for like skin in the game sort of
Do you?
approach.
You think that's enough?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, it's interesting.
How long is the option agreement, and what's the trigger point for exercising it?
So it's 12 months from last week, plus
Okay.
6 months extension in case any decisions are pending. We are planning to submit not just appeal, but another scheme in parallel.
I think the one thing that worries me is it's the time to get the planning, and also the time to get the conditions all discharged, you know, so that you can actually start works. And ideally, it's at that point that you want to trigger the option. And then at that point, are we 15, 16 months away? And how do these build costs and GDVs look at that time? Because my perception is that building costs might be up and GDVs might not be up, they might be similar.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's true
my
for
concern.
most deals though these days, and that's why I was keen to do it as an option agreement rather than a
No,
subject
I
to.
That was the right thing
I
to
think
do.
that's the right thing to do. The one thing I would say is some of these appeals are taking a year.
Have you been involved in the planning so far?
Well, this first planning application they have refused originally. Basically, it took 6 months to cut the story short. It took 6 months, but it could have been sooner if we didn't have the hope that they will leave the affordable housing story separate, because we could have asked them to refuse and go to appeal a few months ago, but they started talking about.
I have to say, I think I'd question your planning consultant on that, because I like you, Nicholas.
I think it
I
could have
just
been dealt
think
with
it doesn't
on a
seem quite
secondary
right
issue.
to me. I think that could have been negotiated or done something.
Yeah, the planning could have been approved subject to
Yeah.
that agreement.
Yeah,
and then
for
you
me.
could have
But
negotiated that
perhaps
aside.
we're wrong. We're not planning consultants here, by the way. None
No,
of us are.
no. And every borough's different. That's the
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah.
You know, and it's sometimes different planning.
And
Officers are different.
It can be very, very difficult. I think the
Yeah.
one thing Ranjan's picked up on is the preconditions that need dealing with, and they can take now anything up to a year to sort out with these councils. The councils are so busy. I accept a lot of its conversion, which is a lot easier, but you've got some new build as well. I like what you've done with the conversion, kept it simple, kept the utilities in the same place. I like vertical splits, I have to say. It's a lot easier. They're easy to sell, slightly less, sound and firework needed. But I can see why you've done that. What do you think the property market's going to do in the next 18 months?
Transaction volumes are definitely
Volumes are going to go down, that's for sure. What do you
That's
think of
for sure.
prices?
I think we can expect up to 10% drop in GDVs. That's my fair
I agree,
opinion
and
on
I think
that.
I think you're spot on. And how does that affect all the figures that you've done?
I've done the sensitivity to 5% fall in GDV,
But not 10%.
but not 10%.
Okay.
But
Well,
they-
why did you not do 10% when it's when you've said 10% here and you put 5% in there?
I can't answer that question. I tend to show 5% sensitivity.
John, I think you're actually being a bit mean, because I think this is a good rock solid area, and not all areas fall by the same amount.
Listen,
would
as
be
Paul
one of
has
those
always
ones
said,
that
it's a
won't.
micro market,
Yes,
isn't it?
exactly.
And Paul's
Yeah.
always said that, and he's absolutely right. So micro market, some areas might go up a little bit, other areas will go down. I accept that.
The fact that property prices have gone up by 15 to 20% over the past 12 to 18 months.
You haven't been here, actually. They've gone up to another 5. There's 25%
Whatever
now.
they've gone up. They're microclimates, John.
Yeah.
How much have they gone up since I've been on holiday?
5%. You've missed out.
If you look at it from that perspective, 15 to 20% over the past X time frame, for it to pull back 10 isn't a bad thing. It's expected.
Yeah.
You know, that no one should be worried about that, but it does worry me a little bit when we're talking about this development, because you take 10% off the GDV, you've only got 10% profit left. And between the two of us, that's only 5% each. And that's pretty tight to actually make any money.
I think it's fair, and we don't really know what's going to happen in the property market. I think it could fall up to 10%, in which case we just don't exercise the option. Like that's my take on it.
I wouldn't be so negative there. I wouldn't be so negative there, because if that's the case, you just go back to the vendor and say, look, the world's changed here, the market's changed, we need it 10% or 15% less. And you might be surprised. You've done a very good job so far with the vendor. And you know, when things change, eventually everyone has to accept it. They may not accept it the first 3 months, but eventually they accept it. And the sooner they accept it, the less money they lose. I really like the type of deal. It's just the sort of deal I've done many of over my career. And you're very investable, very bright, very articulate. You know your numbers, which is great. For me, today, there's not enough profit in it for me. I'm looking at 35% net profit on deals because of the market, anticipate the problems that may occur. I might be totally wrong, and this area is a very good area. So for me, it's a no today, but it's a very interesting project, and I wish you luck with it.
Thank you.
I mean, I'd agree that there's not enough profit in it in this current market. It's very tricky. I think when you're dealing with a small number of high-priced properties, that, you know, potentially also adds quite a risk. You know, you have, well, there's 3 in there, so 5 in total. It's not a big scheme in terms of the number of units, and it's a high-value scheme. Appreciate it's a good area, but a bit like London. You know, London is often the first.
It's a great area, Nicholas. Yeah.
But the high-value areas can be the first to come down in a slowing market, but they are often the best asset for long term. So the question is, what will this do in 2 years, not in 6 months? I think we're focusing on the short term. And my gut feeling is it might be about where it is now. I think everyone's in agreement it's going to come down in the short term, but Brexit's getting unwound. We're hopefully out of the worst of the pandemic. We've got a new government. In 2 years, we could be booming again, you know, when people start getting to grip with the economy. But that's not enough for me to invest in that level of risk, unfortunately. So I wish you well. I hope the planning does go through on appeal. And worst case, you could always flip it to someone that is prepared to take the risk before you build it.
Only if there's enough margin in it.
If there's enough margin in it still, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Helen?
Tatiana, it's so thorough, it's so well thought out. I really love your approach to this. I love your spreadsheet and I love your numbers. What I don't love on it is the finance costs and the risk on the time side of it. As I said, I've got something stuck in planning at the moment, so I've got my own headaches on those type of things, and I'm not keen to take on more at the moment, but I love you and you are super investable, so thank you.
Thank you.
Very much so.
Agree.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, just to agree with what everyone said, I think you're very investable. I like, you know, your thought process around leveraging other people's money and leveraging the right professionals around you. None of us are builders either, but you know, have managed to make it work. I also think what Nick said is a sensible thing, given the fact the profit in this from a developer's perspective isn't super high. If you get the planning on this, you have the option and you sell it to a builder, then the profit in it for them is super high.
Exactly.
So that's maybe a good option for you. But from an investors and a joint venture perspective, I think it's just a little bit tight given the current market. So it's not for me.
All is not lost. Ranjan's next.
I wish you'd come to me with your previous deal, you know, the permitted development 12 flat conversion. That would have been right up my street. I think the issue with this one is, you know, no one knows what's happening to property prices. But what we do know is that it's going to be 12 months plus before you actually start any build works.
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
And in that time frame, we know that build costs are going to rise at a faster rate than the GDVs. So whatever figures we've got here will be less. It's very, very difficult to predict, you know, a couple of years into the future. So for that reason, it's not for me.
Maybe come back next season.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, thank you.
See you again.
With the same deal.
Absolutely. Might still be there.
Might still be there.
Might be cheaper next year. Thank you so much for coming in today, and good luck with your deal. I personally would go back and try and reduce the price.
Tatiana, tell me then, how did it go?
Didn't go to plan, unfortunately, today. Didn't get any offer. I think the main reason was that the angels didn't feel there was enough profit in the deal.
Okay.
And obviously with the growing concerns on the property market crash, that was quite high on their agenda.
Okay.
And I guess the fact that it's an option agreement, so we are pretty much looking at 12 plus months before the funds are actually required. And with this growing uncertainty, they sort of felt that it was too long to wait.
So you still enjoyed the experience,
Oh,
which is the most
absolutely. I'll
important.
come back, in 12 months' time when the deal is ready.
We'd love to have
and the
you back.
property prices have gone up.
I hope
Thank
it goes
you.
really well.
Thanks, really appreciate it. Thank you.
I mean, she's super credible. She's thought about this. She's thought about all the angles. She said she's got other options, so I'm sure she'll go away and produce another 8 of these for the different options for like the building the houses, as you said, Ranjan.
Or flats. If she can get 3 flats on there, she might be getting the GDP up enough.
I mean,
Just tight.
it's a very, what she's done is very simple, very straightforward, and I like that. Sometimes the more simpler deals are the better deals.
Yeah.
The one thing she didn't say is, how do you can I de-risk it? And my de-risk would be, what can I let them for? Does it wash its face if we couldn't sell them? That's what I was wanting to hear from her. As any investor wants to know, what happens if it goes wrong?
Yeah.
Ranjan, do you agree with that?
I do.
Crikey, you actually agree with me. That's something, I suppose. Good.
I think this is. She's great.
Yeah, she is, and it just needs to be 200 grand less, And then I think
that's the frustrating thing
Yeah.
about ones like that is
Yeah.
any of us would have given her the money for a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to partner with people like
Yeah,
that.
you do. Yeah.
But it's just a shame that particular deal.
Yeah.
Is
It wasn't
borderline.
wasn't quite there today. But I think she'll probably get some private investor on that personally.
The saddest thing about this, John, is that deal's not gone through because the council have been greedy. Rather than spurring on development in this country for small builders, which is exactly what they should be doing, they're stifling it.
Absolutely right. I can only think they've got their 5-year supply and they're not under the pressure.
Well, she said they were under pressure.
Well,
That's
that
why they were
amazes
pushing.
me.
They were pushing for more units.
Well, that amazes.
they've stopped this development.
That amazes me.
The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.